We've come to New Mexico to investigate a long-standing story that a secret alien base is inside a mountain on Apache territory. Getting up to the top of Mount Archuleta is only the first challenge.
So we brought in a drone operator. He's going to attach a thermal camera, and basically we are looking for heat signatures. Any temperature variation is going to be a point of interest for us.
That's interesting too.
Yeah.
There have been reports of people finding air vents coming out of the ground.
There are even obscure photos of what appear to be openings indicating something built underground. But I don't see anything in this area of the mountain. Did you find anything?
You know, as far as heat signatures, it looks pretty uniform across the face of it, although there were features I was particularly interested in. You have this vertical line, which the drone operator zoomed in right there.
Okay.
And then you have this sort of groove, and he went back into it, and it looks almost like a door of some sort. So watch, he'll go in. You see? Right there? Mm-hmm. What's that temperature change? 94, but then it did go up to 100 and something. I do want to look at this a little bit more.
Yeah, we should definitely look into that.
This storm is getting a lot closer, the thunder and the lightning. I think we should get off the top of the mountain before we get stuck up here. That's a good idea. Mysterious incidents continue to swirl around Mount Archuleta in northern New Mexico. Members of the Jicarilla Apache Nation frequently report sightings of unusual craft, but the area's strange history also includes one of the longest-running unsolved mysteries of the American West. We've come to the Tafoya family ranch where several cattle were once mutilated, a bizarre series of events that some have claimed was the work of aliens.
It started around 1972. And I'm going to say there was at least 10 cows that were mutilated.
So your dad was the chief of police for years.
Yes.
And what were his thoughts as to what was going on?
You know, at first they were baffled because of the lack of blood and just the way they were cut up. The cuts were laser cut. Mm-hmm. At first they thought it was cows dying from natural causes, but normally when an animal dies, the scavengers will get to it right away. The crows, the coyotes, as they started investigating and finding out that the predators were leaving these carcasses alone.
That to me is just interesting. Apparently the predators were not touching the cattle.
Yes.
That's really unusual. When these cattle were found, was there any other signs of human activity around them? Did you see tire tracks? Did you see marks of any sort?
No, there was no footprints, boot prints, or any of that. There was tripod marks on the ground, and that's pretty much all they found around the cows. And also they would find broken bones on the cow, like broken ribs or broken arm, which meant it was probably dropped a distance.
So you're suggesting that some type of machinery came in and lifted up the cows and took them someplace?
Yes, and that's what brought in the theory it was aliens and UFOs.
Has anyone ever reported seeing a cow actually being lifted up and flown around?
No, I actually haven't, but again, it's in the middle of the night most of the time.
Do you believe that the cattle mutilations were related to what was supposedly happening at Archuleta Mesa or Dulce Base at that time?
Yes, I do, and a lot of people have that same theory.
The one thing that really stands out to me is when these mutilations are occurring, why are people seeing unexplained lights in the sky? Why are they seeing crafts? That's the big question that I have. What are these lights and why are they occurring?
To back up his claims about the cattle mutilations, Avery has offered to introduce us to one of the original investigators.
I have a gentleman here. He's working with my father and the cow mutilations. And also he has some information on the underground base up on Archuleta. His name's Hoyt Velarde.
Wait, what was the time period that the cattle mutilations took place?
I'd say the early 60s to still going on today. We investigated over 200 head. Like this one here, this cow died there, is mutilated there. These things are evidence right here, these cuts. See these incisions.
Who do you think is responsible for these mutilations?
Well, the first thing that happened is everybody started looking at the skies because they didn't understand it. As somebody said they saw helicopters. 2 cowboys riding back to their camp in the afternoon. Summer day, horses walking. It was hot, so that everything sort of standing still. And all of a sudden they hear the horses jump, and they jump and start looking back. Before they turned, they felt a light breeze. They went back and found a cow laying there.
What was the condition of the cow?
The cow was mutilated, no tongue. They didn't see anything, but they did feel a light breeze.
Normally when you go into an investigation, there's, a thread somewhere you can pull where everything unravels, and that's just not the case here. It's pretty bizarre.
Journalist Greg Bishop investigated the mystery at Dulce Base by writing a book called Project Beta. He's long been compelled by the rumors which continue to swirl in New Mexico, and we're meeting him to learn more about the cattle mutilations, the alien rumors, and speculation of a government cover-up.
So thank you so much for joining us, Greg. We have a lot of questions about cattle mutilations, so.
It seemed to be northwestern New Mexico, southern Colorado was where it was concentrated at the time. Senator Harrison Schmitt was getting complaints, letters, and all that from ranchers saying, we're losing cattle, we don't know why, it's becoming a serious problem.
Are you aware of any similarities between these cattle mutilations?
Well, the similarities are what's going on, and what is found is unexplainable by normal means. Predators don't leave anticoagulants in cattle. Predators don't leave surgical scars that are cauterized. Predators don't go in and take organs out from inside of cattle without leaving any obvious incision marks. The funny thing is, when the FBI decided to investigate it, all the mutilations stopped during the time of the investigation, and then when they finished it, it started up again. So somebody knew something was going on.
Do you think that there was a base inside of Archuleta Mountain?
In Dulce, I think that there are a lot of sightings of strange things. I used to think that there was nothing there, and this was just rumors started by the government. People used to see things flying around there quite a lot. And Project Beta was what Paul Benowitz called his project to figure out what was going on with some sort of alien invasion he thought was coming. I believe there was something there. I don't know what it was for. The craziest thing I could think is that it was some sort of facility to test aircraft, if you want to go into James Bondian type speculation.
Is there anyone else who might be able to shed any light on the idea that a secret base in the mountains is connected to aliens?
Have you thought of talking to Richard Doty? He was an Air Force intel agent working there at the time. Talk to Doty yourself and make up your own mind.
I was really glad that we got to talk to Greg. I felt like he had a lot to offer, and the fact that he talked to Richard Doty in person.
Yeah, I really hope we can nail an interview with Doty.
I'll reach out and see what I can do.
Okay.
We've come to the National Museum of Nuclear Science in Albuquerque to meet one of the most controversial figures in the Dulce Base mystery.
This is the oldest bomber in the fleet.
Richard Doty was an intelligence agent for the U.S. Air Force. His critics say he deliberately spread misinformation to manipulate the public's opinion on UFOs.
You worked for the Air Force in the Office of Special Investigation as an intelligence officer?
Yes, I conducted counterintelligence operations, counterespionage operations, centered around us trying to fool our adversaries of what a normal person would call disinformation.
How does the cattle mutilations fit into all of this?
It didn't just involve cattle. It involved game, elk, deer, mountain lions.
We've spoken with a lot of ranchers who have come across their cattle having what looks like strap marks, finding tripod marks at the site. Does any of that sound familiar to you?
That sounds like the black operations the government was doing. We, the government, took these cattle up inside a helicopter to another location. then brought it back to where it was originally found. The United States government was conducting research to determine how much nuclear radiation they had, and this was done primarily in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, and even into the 90s, seeing if the cells were mutated or whether the offspring was mutilated. That program existed back then.
What's the point in bringing it back?
To keep the public from knowing what the government was doing.
Okay. Are there any other reasons for disinformation campaigns besides national security?
Yes, to hide a classified project. For instance, if somebody was to see a highly classified plane flying over their house or in their neighborhood, and they call somebody and say, I just saw a UFO, and it gets to the press, we may pay them a visit and try to convince them that what they saw was actually a UFO. On the other hand, if they saw a UFO and we were puzzled by the fact that this thing defied aeronautical techniques and flying faster than we could have any aircraft fly, we'd try to convince them that what they saw was maybe a UFO. So it works both ways.
As far as you know, what does the Air Force know about extraterrestrials?
It goes back to 1947, the crash at Roswell. There was 2 crashes. The second craft landed in western New Mexico. Nobody wanted to believe them when I told the story, and one of my ET was found in the craft.
The ET was taken to Wright-Patterson?
No, the ET was taken to Los Alamos.
How many dead ETs were recovered?
5.
Can we assume then that the government was working with aliens at some point?
I was never briefed into that. We can deduce from the fact that we had one for 5 years that our government was working with him. He was providing information to the United States government about their technology, where they're from.
So you've seen an extraterrestrial?
I saw an extraterrestrial on a closed-circuit television camera while I was at Area 51.
Really?
Yes.
So you've seen an extraterrestrial?
I saw an extraterrestrial on a closed-circuit television camera while I was at Area 51.
Really?
Yes. The agent that was sitting in this room was looking at the closed-circuit television camera. Now, this is 1980s, remember. And I asked him, I said, what are we looking at? He said, they're interviewing one of them. Now, what I saw was a gray ET, large eyes, sitting in a chair. There was a man next to him. They were communicating telepathically. I wasn't supposed to see it, but I saw it.
To your knowledge, has the government ever tried to reverse engineer any ET craft?
Yes. When I was in Area 51, I saw crafts flying, was doing things that we couldn't do with an airplane. And I was briefed in 1984 that we had connections with 5 different alien races. We had some kind of technology from them.
Talking with Richard Doty is a really big deal because, you know, he's infiltrated UFO circles and spread disinformation, but yet he worked at Area 51 and he was really involved with the government during the time of all these strange occurrences.
When you first hear the story about Paul Benowitz and what he discovered, a lot of people are quick to dismiss that, but it does seem like there was a lot going on that later proved to be true.
Yes, I think he tapped into something. Is there a base down there? I don't know. I wasn't ever down there. I've never read anything about a base or a secret base. That's my knowledge of Dulce.
You know, clearly you had a personal relationship on some level with Paul. When all of this happened and Paul ended up committed, how did you feel about that, knowing that you were participating in this disinformation campaign that could have led to that?
Well, the nuts and bolts of this is that Paul was already a believer in UFOs. He came to us, and he told us that these were UFOs. We never drugged him. We never performed any kind of disinformation hoaxes or psych operations on him. None of that is true.
Richard Doty's testimony was amazing. I mean, he said he saw an actual extraterrestrial at Area 51, and that's one question everybody's been dying to know. It almost makes me wonder if the cattle mutilations and the UFO activity in this area are connected.
Richard, do you still work in misinformation?
No, absolutely not.
I feel like that was the wildest interview I've ever had. He basically threw every conspiracy theory in the book at us.
Do you believe him?
I do believe that the military launched a disinformation campaign because what makes more sense from a national security standpoint? That it's extraterrestrials or that it is a top secret military aircraft? They want to keep that quiet.
I keep thinking about this. Why would the government need to test cattle for radiation and then cover it up?
I think if we can figure out why, that will help us understand what is happening at Mount Archuleta. Heather's going to delve into the cattle mystery while I review our UFO footage of Mount Archuleta with a pilot. Brian Mahoney was a military pilot who flew helicopters during the 80s and early 90s. I'm excited for someone with his insight and credentials to take a look at this footage. Brian, thank you so much for joining me. I have some footage that I'd love for you to look at.
Well, I'd love to see it, Jen.
Let's talk a little bit first about your experience in the Army, how long you flew and what you flew.
I flew attack helicopters for the entire decade of the 1980s. Mostly I flew in Western Europe and then a lot in California, Central America with one of the task force.
And so you've flown over New Mexico a handful of times. Is there anything different about New Mexico than any other place that you've flown?
I will tell you, on my map, there were red lines everywhere. We could not just fly anywhere we wanted to fly.
And so the red lines are showing that there are no-fly zones, essentially.
No fly zones, a lot of restricted airspace in New Mexico. This is a state where they developed the atomic bomb. You've got 3 different Air Force bases. These guys work on all the new R&D. There's a lot of stuff going on in New Mexico. Nevada gets the attention, but I'm telling you, this state, if someone says they saw something, they probably saw something.
So we have some footage that I want to show you. And, you know, from a layperson's point of view, yes, I'm a veteran, but I'm not an aviator. I'd love to get your POV on this. Now, this was taken in the Jicarilla Apache Nation by a resident who lives there.
Oh, that's cool. Oh, okay. What is that doing?
Now, what are your thoughts based off of the movement?
Okay.
I know it's very hard to see because it's far away, but...
Well, it is from this perspective, but right away I can tell you there's no laws of physics being broken here. Everything is within a traditional flight envelope of technology that we already have, that already exists. I would say that there is not enough data to support a conclusion.
The interesting thing about this, Heather, who took the video, said that the reason she pulled out her phone was because she saw this craft, whatever it was, stop in midair. And that was enough for her to say, wait, maybe I should have this recorded.
If it stopped in midair, then you're talking about a different ballgame. But I have seen visual illusions before when an aircraft turns, makes a 60 to 90 degree turn, and it looks for a few moments like it is hovering in midair. At this distance, she could have been mistaken for that particular moment.
We both know from serving in our respective branches that the military keeps secrets, and they're very good at keeping secrets. Something like this, how hard is it to keep a secret for an extended amount of time?
Sometimes things don't even go past, as a pilot, they don't even go past the officers club. Sometimes it makes it up to battalion level, sometimes division, sometimes the Pentagon. So, yes, can we keep secrets? I think there's no one like the United States military that can keep secrets.